Hey, welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast. Hopefully, you're having a great week. It is another Thursday morning. The weather is crap here in Detroit. Hopefully, it's better where you are. We're already having school closed for an inch to maybe 2 inches of snow. So, way different back when I was a kid. You went to school through anything. 5, 6 inches of snow didn't matter. But before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know this episode is brought to you by Titleist and the brand new Pro V1 golf balls. How does the best get better? Well, we're going to find out because now there's a new Titleist Pro V1 and Pro V1X. The original launch of the Pro V1 was in 2000, so this year marks the 25th anniversary of the Pro V1. Titleist R&D asked players what they wanted in the new Pro V1 and Pro V1X, and they said they wanted more spin on scoring shots into the green. R&D delivered, as both models give players increased spin. They also provide more speed off the tee and more control with irons. Many on tour are already teeing up the new Pro V1 and Pro V1X, including Ludwig Aberg, Wyndham Clark, and Will Zalatoris. The new Pro V1 is a great fit for most players and a great place to start in your golf ball fitting process. Compared to Pro V1, Pro V1X has a higher flight and a firmer feel. And there's also Pro V1X Left Dash if you're looking for flight similar to Pro V1X, but with much lower full swing spin and a firmer feel. Visit Titleist.com for everything there is to know about the new Pro V1, Pro V1X, and Pro V1X Left Dash. So we are back, another week, and as I said, weather's crap here. My daughter's school's already closed. We're gonna get like 1 to 2 inches, but I guess it's happening at like a weird time, like right before the commute. So I don't know, but kids nowadays seem to get out of school more than I used to. That's for sure. But I went to a small private school, and the principal lived like, I don't know, a mile away from the school. So he figured if he could get there, anybody could get there. So we always had school. It sucked. But no, all good. So no golf happening outside here anytime real soon. I am still chugging through all the new launches, all the new stuff. It is just crazy. So trying to hit everything. I know you guys are, eager to hear about pretty much everything, and I'm trying to get through it. But it's just taking a little time, and got to go hit up the old indoor places. And thankfully, there's a pretty nice one near me that has TrackMan in it and all that. So I've been utilizing that place quite a bit, which is pretty fun. So today we're going to take a look at 2 irons that I know everybody's excited about. They are 2 of, I think, kind of, I wouldn't call them cult classics, but I feel like they're not as mainstream as other brands, but they're huge in the Golf WRX forums. I want to say that both of these have won like the forum member choice award at least once, if not twice. But we're going to be talking about the Srixon irons. So the new ZXi7, ZXi5, both irons are brand new this year. They're on 2-year cycles. So the Mark IIs came out 2 years ago, and we are now getting the ZXIs. And as you would expect, or as I would say from Srixon, to be smart about it, I would say not to blow the things up and make something brand new and crazy and all that, and to keep things rocking, a nice evolution of what you've been doing, because it's been working. You look at the amount of these that are played on a tour, especially the ZXi7s, and what they've been doing with the Mark IIs and the ZX7s before that, and the Z7 series before even that. There's just been so much use. They've been so good. Just keep doing what you're doing. If you can find little improvements here and there, do it. The one question that everybody's asked me is we see a new ZXi7, 5, and 4, and even a new utility iron, but we haven't seen a new blade yet. And I have not seen a blade either. So far it looks like ZForge 2 is your option. If they even offer, I haven't really looked at their site to see if that's still like something you can order or buy. But it looks like the blade is staying at least. And I get it. What do you really do with the blade? There's only so much you can do, even with, like the ZXi7, when you're looking at a kind of a single piece forged cavity back, there's only so much tech you can pack into it. So many new things you can do. So with a blade, it's even less. So why, you don't need a new one, very often. The characteristics of playing it aren't going to change that much, and what people want pretty much stays the same at that level. So right now, just the 3 irons, the 7, the 5, and the 4, and then the ZXi utility. I'm going to hit the 4 and the utility. I just haven't got them out yet. So again, like I said, when you're running through all the new releases, but so we'll start with the ZXi7. I know that's the one that a lot of people want to jump into right away. But the ZXi7 is the one piece forged cavity back. It does have some tungsten out in the toe on the longer irons. I think that goes away when you get down to like 8-9 pitch maybe. But it's got a little tungsten out there, so it isn't, a true single like one piece. But for the most part, it is one piece. It doesn't have a thin face. It doesn't have, a stainless face or a hot face, and then like a body where they're welded together, all forged together. And you can see them in kind of a shallow cavity in the back. But these things I like because they're not crazy compact. I mean, they're small, but they're not crazy compact. They've got just a hair offset to them, but they're really good shape, slightly longer blade length from heel to toe. Which overall I think gives them just a little bit of added stability. And then this one, this year here, they're adding basically pure frame technology and iForged technology, which iForge is, they actually forge, as they forge this thing, I guess when they have the tooling on it, they can actually make certain parts of the head stronger without having to like go in and reinforce or mill them or use other materials or whatever. They can kind of change the die and actually press strength where they need it into the club head for added durability, a little bit more stiffness. And then the same thing, you can see they've added kind of a chunk of mass behind the ball. This was a little more kind of angled looking last year, and it didn't quite go all the way up to the top. This time it goes from the top frame down to the bottom, kind of muscle there. But overall, it's a ZXi7. When you look at it, like, exactly what it is. It is a ZXi7. It looks great, and they're some solid irons. So overall, I think the looks are really good. Top line on these has never been razor thin, and I like that about them because one, I think it doesn't need to be razor thin, and two, I think it blends well if you want to do a combo set with the ZXi5s. The top lines have similar shape. This one's just a little bit thinner than the 5, but they're nowhere near razor blade thin where you would have like the short irons being crazy thin, and then you move to like the ZXi5s and like say 6.5 4-iron, and all of a sudden they look massive. They blend in together very well. The finish on them is kind of this satin chrome, which is very nice as well. Just overall, they do a really nice job. You have like laser grooves on there. I don't know if you'll be able to see them on YouTube here, but yeah, they have kind of like the laser milling micro grooves in between. Just really nice irons. And of course, the Tour V sole. So of course that's going to be there. It's not going away anytime soon, and as it shouldn't. So it's called the Tour VT sole. But it kind of has basically a beveled leading edge and a beveled trailing edge, and it allows this thing to get through the turf quickly without digging. And honestly, these are, in terms of turf interaction, these soles work really, really well in just about every condition. So we play pretty soft stuff up here in the Midwest. They work fantastic here, but I know that people who play them out on tour on firm, fast, hard fairways play them out there, and I've heard of people playing them all over the country. They play really, really well. So that sole is really good. But yeah, these things are pretty sweet. I mean, they are like I said, kind of I don't want to say the bar that's set, but they definitely have kind of created a little bit of a class of them for themselves of a great player's cavity back. So people always ask too, like, oh, what's like a handicap range on these? I mean, I think if you're, depending on the player, again, every player is a little bit different. I think if you're that 10, 11, into single digit, these, single digit and lower, these things can fit for you. Now, the 4-iron for a 10 handicap may be a little bit of a struggle. For me, myself, I was kind of talking to my friends over there at Srixon, and I might see about doing a little combo set. Might doing a little 4, 5, 6 in the 5s, and then 7 through pitch in the 7s, and just doing a little combo set, because I think that would be a pretty sweet one. And I think it would give me the help and the power I need at the top end of the bag, while still offering me, the feel and kind of the precision at the low end of the bag, which I wish I could say that precision made a big difference, but I can miss a green from just about anywhere. So, but the ZXi7, like I said, looks really good. I like the look. I feel like this year there's just a little bit less offset than last year's. I feel like some of the 7s have gotten a touch more offset to them. This one looks like they've maybe pressed just a touch of it out, which I think is great. I know everybody, hates offset. I don't mind a little bit. And this one has, just that enough where it gives you a little bit of confidence on squaring these things up and hitting them solid. But yeah, these things look really good. I think Srixon did a great job of keeping the DNA of the ZXi7 and then adding just the little touches, like pure frame and iForged on there. So very cool. And yeah, sound and feel really, really good. It's like everything else, when you hit the previous versions of this, then you hit this, you kind of know what you're going to expect. And feel is extremely solid, very solid. very soft. There's just a touch of click at impact. I mean, it's very, minimal. It's kind of what you'd expect from a forged iron. But, hitting Pro V1Xs that are even a little bit firmer, you get a touch of click, you get a little bit of that firmness feel, but really you're feeling everything of that ball hitting the face, compressing, coming off the face and going. When you miss it, you're going to get that little bit of vibration added to it. It's nothing bad. I mean, if you do catch it crazy low in the face, you're going to get a little harsh vibration up to the hands. But I think any iron out there that is single piece forged, especially, you're going to get that with. But this one here, toe and heel, it's a good audible sound. You get good responsiveness on where you missed it. You never really had to guess. And like I said, if you really did kind of hit it really low in the face, you could get a little harsher vibration to it. But those center shots, well, I'll still give the S3 from Mizuno, the Mizuno Pro S3, the softest iron I've hit so far. These are pretty darn good. And the funny thing is I was hitting these and those at one time, one of the range sessions, I was hitting them kind of side by side. And yeah, I mean, this one has just a touch more firmness to it. I'll be honest. But if you're not hitting, next to that, these things feel really, really good, like you'd expect. I mean, the Mark IIs felt great. I hit the Mark IIs. I didn't own a set, but I owned the ZX7s, and then I owned also a couple of the the ZE765s. I think I had the 85s. But hit a bunch of those, and these right in line with that. If you like the Srixon feel there, you're going to love these as well. They've kind of gone right with it. So really good, solid, soft feel like you'd expect from a forged iron, and responsive. So when you miss it a little bit, you're definitely going to know, and that's great, because I think a lot of field players who play these, they're expecting to be able to have that and to get that feedback. So really solid there. Like I said, sound, just a little bit of click, and it probably, if you played a slightly softer ball like standard Pro V1, something like that, you might reduce even a little bit of that. But I just get a touch of click to it when it leaves, but really, really solid when you hit it dead center, and you'll be really excited. You're really pleased with the feel of these irons. So overall, that part's really good. And then when you get to performance, I think these play really well. I think these definitely play. They're definitely more playable than, say, like a 620 CB. Or some of the really small, compact cavity backs. These play, I feel like, a little bit bigger than that. I think they have a little bit of stability. And again, they're a little longer from heel to toe, the blade length, when you look at it. And it's overall just a little bit bigger. And that just touch of largeness gives these things, I think, just a little bit of playability, where a guy like me who's, I struggle. I really want to get back down to the single digits. I'm hovering around that. I ended the year at 11-1. I feel like I can get back if I can just kind of commit to kind of improving the swing a little bit this winter. But I think, I'm on that border of playing a set of these. And I think combo-wise, I can play them. But in terms of performance, I think they offer that little bit of playability. They're not crazy demanding. I mean, to get the full carry number, you're going to have to hit it pretty close to center. But you don't have to be, pinhead size perfect every single time, which is pretty nice. So these things here, when you do hit them, they offer a good launch. They're easy to launch. I was actually kind of surprised how high my apex was with these, because I saw a handful over 100 feet, and it seems like sometimes with these, they have like slightly weaker lofts in a sense. Sometimes I still just don't hit peak height with some of these irons. But 7 iron comes in at 32 degrees, so it's kind of, I would say, modern-ish. Compared to the 5, it's basically just about a degree weaker, but 32 on the 7 iron, 46 on the pitch, and the 5 iron is 25. So a little bit more traditional. I feel like that's becoming kind of the traditional lofts for more player-oriented irons. That's what you're getting at. The days of the 47 pitches and the 30 degree 7 iron, or the 34 whatever degree 7 irons are kind of starting to go away. So these are kind of like, I think, a modern standard for this iron. So, but yeah, overall peak height I thought was really good. I was kind of surprised. Same thing with launch. I was able to launch these, it basically I averaged 20.2 degrees of launch, and I was hitting the ball pretty straight. A little bit of left to target with this and the 5 was kind of my thing. I mean, throughout both, I was kind of hitting a little bit left to target, but really easy to square up. Really easy to hit center. I think that Tour Diesel, again, when you get into the turf, it's easy to get the ball up in the center of the club face. There's not too much soul, too much bounce there where it sits up and you always catch it, that one groove lower, no matter, if you put a perfect swing on it or not. Definitely easy to do. And like I said, when you see the ball go, it definitely goes. And it was interesting because, like hitting say that Mizuno Pro S3, I was struggling for like a 7-iron for me. I try to carry at 160, and as I've gotten older and kind of out of shape, that number has become a little harder to obtain. And with this, I averaged 157 out of all my shots. But really, I mean, unless it was like my worst shots, I saw 150. Everything else, though, was like mid to higher 150s in terms of carry number. So I saw, I mean, and when I hit it flush, I hit it 160, 161. So it was actually really nice to see that an iron like this, which isn't built for speed, isn't built to, produce, fastball speeds on mishits and all that stuff. I was able to hit solid shots that went my number. And then when I did miss it, I mean, it dropped, but it wasn't crazy. Like when I hit that, say, Pro S3, I would see drops to like the 140s. I saw one that, I completely kind of missed it low toe, and it was a 140 carry on a club that I was hoping to hit 160. So things like that, I didn't notice as big a drop-offs with this. There was just more consistency no matter where I hit it on the face. Like I said, I think the lowest one I saw was a 150, which, if you hit that shot out there, it's just a bad swing. It lands short of the green or, just in front, but the ball still went actually fairly straight. So I would have been okay. I just would have had to chip on and, hopefully make a putt and make par. But the consistency of these, even when you didn't strike at center, is pretty impressive. Definitely more playable than something like that S3, which I love that iron. I'm not trying to knock it. It's just a much more demanding club. And this thing here definitely offers more playability there. And like I said, when I hit it dead perfect, 160, 161, they maybe saw 162 in there, but it went the number. And the other thing, you never, like all these clubs that are not built for speed, you don't see those crazy numbers, or if you don't see like the 175 that jumps in there or something like that. It stays all around that 160 mark. So really consistent there. And the same thing with spin. So I averaged 56.86 with this iron was my average spin number over all my shots. And honestly, that number stayed pretty much there. I mean, if I really drew one, you'd see one get into the low fives. When you faded it, you'd see that thing get up into the six. But it stayed in the low sixes. It never really got. I don't think I ever saw 65. Basically saw 61, 6,000. High fives were pretty much the norm unless you really let it go kind of the right. But the straight balls right down the center were pretty much between that 55, 50, high 55 and high 56 number. I mean, it was like within that 100 RPM, and it just didn't switch. And for me, I can't notice 100 RPM a spin. It doesn't matter to me when I'm hitting solid shots, as long as they're going straight and they're going where I need them to go. But overall, really, really good. And then the other thing that was interesting was, ball speed number. I averaged 111 miles an hour in ball speed with this thing, which, I mean, I didn't hit everything perfect. I hit a lot of good shots, and I would say I hit majority of better shots than bad. But that number was not that far off the JPX 925 forged. And that one, I thought I hit pretty well, and that has a little bit of a thinner face and a little bit more speed to it. So now I didn't see a whole lot much higher than that. I think 113 was about as fast as I saw, and I know I saw faster ones with the JPX 925 forged. But this thing here, for being just a single piece, kind of face, body, all that, seemed like it held ball speed pretty well. Now it would drop. I mean, I think I did see, a 107 or so in there. It just happens as you miss it. But this thing here, performed really, really well. And honestly, just surprised at how easily I could hit this and not feel like I had to hit it absolutely dead perfect every single time. So really impressed with these. Compared to the previous year, I felt like maybe the ball came out maybe a hair lower. I'd have to go pull that old 7-iron and hit it side by side again, because I know that was one of the things with the Mark II that I thought when I first hit it 2 years ago, it was like, wow, that thing really got in the air and it kind of got up quick. I felt like this didn't have that. I didn't have that same reaction to it, but it was still easy to launch. And like I said, average 20.2 with a 95 foot apex was my average. So, and like I said, I saw a few that were definitely over 100. So it was kind of nice to see that high launch, that I know that ball's going to stop on the green, and you're going to have, very, very little release, if any, depending on your lie. So a really good player's iron. Turf interaction, haven't been able to mess with that yet because I haven't been able to go outside. But off the mat, it's great. But we're a little ways away from that. Our ground is still quite frozen, so I'm not hitting balls outside anytime soon. But the ZXi7, just really impressed. I think it's a really solid iron. I really like it. And I think, compared to last year, I think there's going to be, a little bit of refinement there in terms of maybe spin consistency and ball speed consistency compared to last year. But other than that, I think, you've got the same good things going for it. that you did, or the same good things going that they had in the Mark II, you've got them in the ZXi, and yeah, they're really solid. So definitely really impressed with these. I like them a lot. Like I said, I might do a little combo set so I can take them out and play them. And I'm really excited to hit these things because they are really good. And I've had really good success. I mean, I got fit into a set of Z565, 765 combo set years ago. Went there and back when my buddy Adam White was fitting at Club Champion, did a little fitting there and got fit into those, and they were really good. And I played them pretty much all year. They're really solid. They're still going strong. They're actually in my brother's bag with different shafts. He's a little bigger hitter than me, so he put a set of I put a set of X100s in there for him. But he's still playing those irons, and he absolutely loves them. So these I think are going to be that same thing. We're going to have a really big kind of cult following for better players who want a playable forged blade that's going to offer a little bit of forgiveness, definitely precision, and something that feels really good. And these ZXi7s are going to do all that. So really impressed with these. I like them a lot. I'm a big fan. I think they're really solid. Like I said, number wise, carry averaged 157, spin with a 7-iron I averaged 56.84, and then ball speed averaged 111 miles an hour, which is pretty crazy. Launch is 20.2 degrees and an apex of 95. So not too bad. I mean, honestly, that plays to me more players distance than it does just forged cavity, but a really good iron there, and I was really impressed with how that iron played. And then we jumped into the ZXi5. So the ZXi5 is going to be the multi-piece iron in this family. I will kind of categorize it as a little bit of, I'm going to call it player's distance. I know that's kind of a muddled, weird category of what fits in and what doesn't. But this thing here, I think, fits perfectly into that category because it's a little bit bigger than the ZX7, but not much. I mean, when you set them down, like I was hitting these side by side, you could tell a little bit easier. But it is definitely something that it's a touch bigger, but it follows the same lines. I think it blends very well. It's got maybe a hair more offset, but I would say very, very minimal. When you look at it, so like this 6-iron is 3.2 millimeters. Or, I mean, the 7-iron is 3.2 millimeters. And when you look at the 7-iron here, you're looking at 2.8. So 2.8 compared to this is quite a big. I mean, you're half a millimeter basically. That's it, which is pretty pretty much nothing. So pretty awesome to see that they kind of put a nice package in here. This is actually. So I apologize. This is actually the 6-iron. I forgot they sent a 6-iron and a 7-iron. So I've got a little bit of each. I didn't have exact things here. So this is going to be the 6-irons when the numbers come out with this one. They're going to be a little lower or a little different, but that's because this thing is a 6-iron instead of a 7-iron. So I forgot that is the case. I just didn't realize it when I looked at the bottom. So even so, if you look at the 6-iron, you're looking at basically 3.1 millimeters of offset for the 7 and 3.6. So half a millimeter is what you're basically looking at in terms of offset difference. And realistically, like when you set them down, yeah, there is not a huge difference. These things, I think for how they play, they definitely look awesome for the type of player who can play these. That kind of mid-handicap player, it is surprising how playable these are. So these have, basically they have a thin face welded onto a body, and they go through the same kind of eye forging thing where they forge this thing to have different strengths elsewhere, on the head through the forging process. Laser weld on a face that's got mainframes on the back of this face. There is like little pockets etched into it, and that is going to basically help with the flexibility and make it kind of more flexible, but also take away some of those like crazy hot spots and add some forgiveness into the head. And then this one here, same thing. Tour V sole. Sole is a little bit wider. I know we're not showing exact irons, 7 to 6, but I mean when you look at the soles there, B5 is a little bit wider to give you a little bit more float, a little bit more kind of anti-dig through the turf. But a really good looking iron. I've always thought the 5 series stuff from Srixon, whether ZX5 Mark II or the Z745, 765, 85, all those have always looked really good. And I think they do a really nice job by making a slightly larger blade look compact, look more players-esque. And again, when you look at the top line, it is just a little bit thicker than the ZX7, not much at all. They still keep it thin. When you look down at this, it gives you confidence that, hey, this is like a good player's distance iron. And I think a lot of players will look at this and really be impressed. It does have a little plastic badge in the back, so it kind of looks like it's ZXi7 sibling, but that badge back there kind of helps dampen some of the vibration and stuff. And also there's kind of a larger cavity. But again, these things look really, really good. I think they have a fantastic look to them through the whole set. I mean, from 4-iron down to pitching wedge, I've seen, the irons, and they look really, really good. And then sound and feel are really solid. Now they're a little bit firmer than the ZXi7s. I mean, with the multi-piece, design, you're going to get that. It's going to be just a touch more firm. You're going to get just a touch more sound out of it. But again, nothing that I think if you're not hitting them side by side, you are not going to really notice a big difference there, because it is honestly, it's pretty close. I mean, it's a little firmer because of course it's got, a little bit of, it's got multi-piece, but it's only a hair firmer, and you still can feel that ball compress. It's still responsive. You get a little bit more vibration on mishits than I feel like you do with the ZXi7. If you catch it out on the toe a little bit there, a little bit lower on the toe, I feel like you feel and hear more of that shot than you did with the ZXi7s. But it's nothing that's too harsh or anything bad like that. It's just a little bit more audible and a little bit more responsive in that way. But the sound is still really good. I think these are still really impressive. I've hit other multi-piece irons that definitely do not feel as good as these, and I think they match up fairly well with their ZXi7 sibling. And then it comes to performance. I think these things perform really well. These are irons that they hit hard and they produce a good amount of ball speed and they get the ball going. And I was actually surprised because I never felt like I hit the ZXi, the 5 series ones, higher and higher than, like, say, the 7s, or anything like that. I've always felt like, especially stuff with a little bit stronger lofts and stuff like that, I don't necessarily hit it higher, but these ones here, I actually hit average 21.7 degrees of launch angle. So I was basically hitting the 6-iron here about a degree higher than I was hitting the ZXi7. Now, there is a few degrees difference there. So that is pretty impressive when you look at, what did I say, it was 32 for the 7-iron. And it's basically 27 for this. So you're looking at, 5 degrees, and I'm still launching this just a little bit higher. So I feel like, center of gravity-wise, pretty darn low, and, gets the ball in the air pretty darn easily. Now, these things here, with that launch, ball speed was really good. 114.3 was kind of my average. I saw some 117s in there. Definitely some balls that really moved, and this thing here was really easy, and much like the 7, it didn't drop drastically. I think I went, on bad shots you'd see kind of the 112, 113, which was right around what the ZXi7 had, but those were bad shots. And then on good shots, like I said, I saw some 117s, 116s, some stuff that really moved off the face of this thing, but it never felt like it was like out of control. It just always had a pretty consistent, no matter where you hit it, it had a pretty consistent ball speed to it. And I feel like these, though there are going to be lower spinning, I still don't feel like they're going to be crazy jumpers and crazy inconsistencies in distance with it. But they are definitely a little bit lower spinning than the ZXi7s. So in these, like with this, and again, it's a 6-iron. So 46.59 was my average spin with these. So yeah, it's 1,000 RPM, but it's also a completely different club and one club stronger and all that. So, I mean, there's a lot that go into that. But these things definitely are going to be a little bit lower spinning than the ZXi7s. Everybody kind of says now, I mean, that day of 6-iron has been 6,000 is kind of away. So this is pretty close. I mean, they basically say now like a 6-iron, should spin around 6 or around 5,000. So, I mean, I'm pretty much right there. And I do have to say with these, the start line was a little bit more left. I hit a little bit more draws with this than I did the ZXi7. So that was a little bit more neutral. Saw straighter balls, maybe few more fades. This one here definitely saw more draws to it, and more straighter balls. Saw fewer fade balls with this thing as well. So yeah, 46.59. And again, if I really hit it left, I saw 4,300. I saw some low ones. And then the same thing on the other side when you really kind of flared it up. There was some stuff, into the 5s. So, it's consistency-wise, just like the 7, it's really good there. Carry number average 167. This is, again, a club that I would like to carry 170. I was hitting the ball pretty solid. And a few of those lefts, I did see some 172s, 173s. 174s, and then the misses, same thing. Saw some stuff in the kind of the high fives, but never really saw anything kind of under that. I mean, 160 to maybe a 157, 158. I think there was one or two that I just didn't hit well, but definitely saw more stuff that was in the high 160s around that average. More balls in that area than I did on the other side. So definitely consistent and definitely easy to carry. And again, you'll see some balls that definitely fly past that 170 mark with no problem when you really flush it. Like I said, launch 21.7, so about a degree higher launch. And then the apex, honestly, 102. I was hitting these things high. And again, I wasn't hitting like big old fades with them. I was hitting balls straight. They just get up in the air really easily and launch. And this thing had same shaft, dynamic gold mid 115 as the ZXi7. So a little bit of apples to apples there. But again, two totally different irons. But this thing, easy to get up in the air, easy to launch, has some firepower to it. But it doesn't do it by just taking away all spin. You're not throwing 2,000 RPM knuckleballs out there with this thing either. You are hitting some solid shots that have some spin, that should hold the green, and at 102 apex, it should drop and stop pretty close to where that ball lands. Even with a 6 or 7 iron, 5s and 4s, you're going to get that little release. It's just the way it is. But these things are really, really solid there, and honestly, really impressed. I think like I said, I would love to do a little bit of a combo set. Throw a little 4, 5, 6 in the ZXi5s, and then 7, 8, 9 pitch in the 7s. I think it would be a cool set. I think you'd get the best of both worlds, and I think both these would play really well. And when you set them down, they look, when they set them down from address, they look really, really similar. So I think that might be a setup I look to dial into. But again, carry 167 was my average. Actually 10 yards longer. Even I didn't even realize that 10 yards longer for one club up, and spin about 1,000 RPM less, so 46.59, 114 ball speed, 21.7 launch, 102 apex. So ZXi5's definitely pretty solid there. I think there are, both those irons are going to do really, really well next year. I think you're going to see a lot of people playing those. A lot of people fit into them, and they should. I think Srixon did a really nice job. I'm excited to get them out. I want to get them on the course. I definitely want to have that, feel that V-sole again, because I had it years ago and haven't had it in a while, so I'd love to get that out. But honestly, I think both these are really good irons. I think they're really solid. If you're somebody looking for precision with a little bit of playability, whether you're a scratch player or even better, up till probably a high single digit, maybe a 10. The ZXi7s are phenomenal. If you're looking for that little bit of added distance, added firepower without looking down at a shovel, I think the ZXi5s are phenomenal. I think they give you good feel, good sound. They give you distance, but they don't give you a ton of offset and a huge package. They've got a slightly wider sole, but it's nothing crazy. Overall, I think they did just a fantastic job, like they have the past few generations of this iron. They've done a really, really good job. So these things are exciting. If you go to, just Google Srixon, because they've kind of got like a weird website to just give you. But if you just Google Srixon irons, they will pop up there. Go check out all the specs, all that. They definitely did a nice job with them. And honestly, I'm excited to hit these more. I'm definitely going to hit them more. I'm going to hit the utility and the ZXi4. I remember, I think it was the last generation, the Mark II 4s, I was kind of impressed with. I was kind of shocked at how good those were. So we'll definitely hit those. And then, or maybe I'll do that. What if I went ZXi4, 4 iron, and then 5, 6 in the 5, and then 7 through pitch in the 7s? That'd be pretty cool. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll make up something cool and something wild. But yeah, excited to hit these more. And yeah, go check those out. And when you get a chance to demo them at your local shop, whatever, definitely take the time to do it, because I think you'll be impressed with how these things play and how they sound, how they feel. They just they kind of check all the boxes, which is pretty cool. So that is the Srixon ZXi7, ZXi5 irons. Yeah, that's all I've got today. I want to say thank you to everyone who we did the Q&A, but I did it on the main Golf to BRX account. But if you want to follow me on Instagram, at Club Junkie Pod, hit me up there. Definitely try to post a lot of club content and all that. Yeah, wherever you're watching, listening, whatever, please like, subscribe, all that jazz would be great. But yeah, that's all I've got. We'll talk next week. I'm going to try to maybe do a few drivers next week. We'll see some new stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, have you guys have a good week. Have a good weekend. Try to play some golf if you can. If you can't, go indoors, hit a few balls, scratch the itch a little bit. So have a good one. We'll talk next week.